Tonight's DJNTV show is sponsored in part by Electro Voice, DJ Event Planner, ADJ, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, Newmark, and DJNTV Insiders.
Welcome to Creating Connections Podcast, episode 166. I'm Mitch Taylor.
And I'm Vickie Musni.
Kids is, I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling kids. We're talking about kids at meetings. How do you handle them? What's the personality trainer's thoughts on kids at the meeting?
Oh, I have lots of thoughts.
We'll cover that more.
Many thoughts as I have children.
And personalities.
Hey.
And more after the break.
That was nice and easy.
What are you talking about? This also speaks to a much bigger issue.
Providing personal solutions through understanding people. This is the Creating Connections Podcast with Gitomer Certified Advisor Mitch Taylor and Certified Personality Trainer Vickie Musni.
Welcome back to Creating Connections Podcast, episode 166. I'm Mitch Taylor.
And I'm Vickie Musni.
And today we're talking about how to handle kids at the meeting.
I think it's interesting that this topic came up because obviously if there are kids at the meeting, it can change the dynamics of the meeting significantly.
Absolutely.
And frankly, there are so many variables because I've had meetings where it's been no problem that there's been kids there, and I've had other meetings where I'm ready to tear my hair out at the end. Oh.
Yeah, I think it depends. The age of the kids can vary greatly.
Yes.
That also can greatly affect the meeting itself. And my solution for kids at meetings, 2 words. Duct tape. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. It's a joke.
Goodness.
Totally kidding.
Try again. Pick 2 different words this time.
Babysitter. No. And I would say get involved. That would be the 2 words. And sometimes you can have a great rapport with kids. I mean, I don't know. I've always done relatively well with especially little kids, like, I don't know, 3 to 8, 9 years old, somewhere in that ballpark, 3 to 10 roughly.
That's a big age range though too, Mitch.
It is. I normally do okay with that age range. Like I can keep them occupied, I can keep them interested, I can keep them, whether it be talking about, Thomas the Tank Engine if it's a boy sometimes, or Barbies if it's a girl, or whatever the case is. There's all kinds of things you can talk about. Or maybe if you have kids or can relate to kids and have things at your office you can pull out. Like, we often use those light up glow sticks that we have here. And we've brought those out for kids, given those to a kid just to occupy them. And because, it's 3 buttons at the bottom, you can light them up and that'll keep the kids occupied.
So the weddings that have the little bubbles that they give out, I usually just throw a couple extras in my purse. So if I do end up, because unlike you, I don't have an office where we meet clients. Sure. I'm always meeting them somewhere else. So just being able to pull one of those out of my purse has been handy. I mean, I've pulled them out on airplanes before and entertained crying kids on an airplane just so that everybody around them could have a little more enjoyable flight. So yeah, we're around those things. Just try to have them either at your office or somewhere accessible if you need them.
You have to be smarter than the kids. Now, we're going on the assumption that you've already either haven't avoided kids or haven't asked your client to not bring kids to the sales meeting.
Yeah.
That's another whole conversation. Vickie, how do you feel about that?
My first reaction, and again, this is as a mom that has 4 kids, so I know kids, I love kids. I would, of course, always rather not have kids at the meeting. I would rather be able to get my clients' undivided attention and, frankly, not be in the back of my mind judging them for their parenting style and just sizing up if I like their kids or not. But the flip side of that is, if they have kids and I'm considering working with this client, I'm not going to be able to make their kids just disappear on the wedding day. So part of me is like, maybe it's better to find out the full picture right from the beginning and know what I would be getting into. And again, there's a lot of variables depending on the age of the child and if it's a baby or a toddler versus, an 8, 9, 10-year-old. I mean, at 9, 10 years old, my kids were sitting for Toastmasters meetings and participating. I mean, everybody's got their different temperament and you can change a lot. But if they were that age, you can have a conversation with them. Are you excited about the wedding? Yeah. What are you looking forward to? What do you think you want to be doing, at this point? Or do you have any ideas? But if they're, like I said, toddlers and preschoolers, that's a whole different ballgame. They probably don't even really have a concept of what's going on. But again, maybe you just want the full picture.
So last week we flipped it and talked about from the consumer standpoint on reviews, right? So let's flip it here. What about the consumer standpoint? If you were being asked to come in for a meeting, maybe it's, and I would argue that this profession is probably slightly different than what we do, but maybe it's your financial advisor. Let's say it was your financial advisor and you got to bring in, rewind, 5 to 7 years and go back to when, Max and Noah were younger. And how would you feel if your financial advisor said, listen, I can't bring, please don't bring your kids, or however they approached it? How would you feel as a consumer on that?
I feel like there's a time and a place for kids, and there are certain meetings where kids just don't belong. And I think I felt that a lot. And maybe I'm in the minority, but there were definitely places that I did not bring my younger kids. And for example, having 2 sets of kids, when I had elementary school age kids and they had a music performance or their first middle school concert, I was the mom that got a babysitter for my 1 and 2-year-old because I didn't think it was respectful to everybody else in the audience. And I'd be frustrated, frankly, when I get there and somebody else is crying 2-year-old or wanted to stand up on the chair so they could see and was blocking, all of the other parents. I was the mom that erred on the side of getting the sitter when I felt like it was appropriate. I put myself in babysitting co-ops, so I wasn't always having to pay for a sitter. It was like, hey, you watch my kids for this event, I'll watch yours when you have XYZ. And I found ways, because I don't know, maybe it's my parenting style or my ability to compartmentalize or just be realistic about what my kids could handle. And I don't like putting my kids in situations where I know they're going to be bored, uncomfortable, having trouble behaving well. And it was just easy for me to say, yep, this isn't a good idea. I'm going to find someone to come sit with them or take them to a friend's house or arrange, a play date swap or something. But that was me. And I have a lot of friends that are the other way around. And they're like, nope, where I go, my kids go.
So basically approaching this from the consumer side, you're seeing both sides of the coin, if you will.
Well, I guess maybe that's me being a personality trainer, Mitch, is that I know there is not one easy answer because nobody parents the exact same way.
No.
And even in families, my husband and I don't always parent the same way. And you probably have that situation too. Yeah. Yep. Knowing that you have opposite personalities. And I've interacted with your family some, but I guess I look at it, it's taking a big step back and saying, first of all, you've got to do that research that we talk about. You have to know the clients, asking some really good questions, and hopefully not being blindsided when they show up with kids.
Yes.
Hopefully you've said something like, are there any other decision makers that are going to be coming with you? Or is anybody else coming with you to the meeting? Is a nice general way to say it.
Yes.
I'll often ask that because I want the decision makers, but that's sometimes when I find out if there are children coming. And they're, oh yeah, I'll be my 3-year-old will be with me. And I'm like, okay, good. Mental note. I need to be prepared for this.
Yeah. Anytime you can do that search phase in advance and find that information out in advance versus being surprised, it's going to help you. Yeah. That being said, you still need to be prepared for that surprise. Oh, I brought my kid along. Yeah. I've had it the case too, where before they've said, oh yeah, we're going to drop the kid off at my parents, and then they show up with the kid. And we've had that happen. So I think if you know there are kids involved in advance, or even if you don't, you need to be prepared with a plan of how you're going to entertain. And then you need to be able to have that plan for different age groups.
Yeah.
A 3-year-old is going to act differently than a 7-year-old is going to act differently than a 12-year-old.
Well, and I don't mean to sound super hardcore, but if you really don't like kids and you really don't want to work with kids and you don't want kids at your event, then this is something you need to find out before the sales meeting, because maybe that client is not a good fit for you.
Yes.
And this was not a wedding situation, but we were at some silent auction event and we ended up winning a family portrait as a prize. And my kids were between 2 and 8 at the time. And again, it wasn't a photographer that I had sought after and tried to vet. It was just, I won it, so I scheduled it. And it turned out when we got there, this guy did not like kids. He did not like kids. He did not know how to speak to kids.
Then why are you offering family portraits?
I was shocked. I mean, my kids, they could all talk at that time. And he would say, my daughter was, 7, and he would say things to me like, tell her to scoot over a little bit. And I'd be like, her name's Annie. You can tell her to scoot over. Like, she is a person. If you can't treat a child like a person, then you have no business working with children.
Okay. I'm going to play devil's advocate on that. It's just a little bit. This man doesn't know you, or woman. I don't know who it was.
It was a man.
This man doesn't know you. Some cultures and some adults don't want other adults telling their kids what to do. Granted, in that situation, I would say it's probably fine to do that. But with today's society and the way things are today, to more err on the side of caution, I'm probably okay with. I don't know. I mean, I get where you're coming from.
Oh, it makes me crazy.
But I can. Wait,
this is personal pet peeve, but it makes me crazy when people talk to me instead of to my children when my children are right there.
I get it, but
I can't.
You know what I'm saying though,
I can't handle that.
Do you see what I'm saying though? I mean,
Yeah, but his whole demeanor, he didn't try once to learn anybody's names, even when we introduced them.
That's not cool.
And he couldn't, there was just this complete disconnect. I can look back and say, okay, I realized he didn't like kids. I knew I would never choose to do business with him. And I think that's the reason people donate stuff, is they're trying to get future clients.
Yes.
And I could just tell you he was not a good fit for our family. And that's fine. I mean, maybe he could do it now that the kids are older, but he didn't know how to work.
Have those photos?
I don't know. I only have the one. I did not buy anything. I took the one free one because I didn't like any of them. Nobody was happy because he had zero rapport with the kids. There was not one photo where people looked happy and relaxed.
So what does this tell you? That if you're in a situation where the kids are at the meeting and you want to get to the parents' emotions, you better connect with the kids.
Yes.
Is the lesson learned here.
Yeah.
If you connect with the kid, if you give them something, like we're giving out, those
the glow
wands,
bracelets,
if you will, the glow sticks.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you can give them something, even as a really small value for you. It's like a buck or whatever the heck it is. Doesn't matter. You're giving something that creates a level of, commitment on the client's part, because you've invested a small thing, but still, in their kid, in providing a good experience for their kid. And I think that's something not to be missed here, you know. Maybe you involve the kid. Maybe you do a recording, or maybe you ask them what kind of sign they're going to hold when they walk down the aisle to be the flower girl or ring bearer.
I guess I'm just saying, yes, part of me, the business owner, the sales part of me, would love to just focus on the adults and be able to have their undivided attention. But if the kids are a part of everything, and if there are kids in the family, the chances are really good that's going to be a big part. You know, they're going to be a big part of the day too. It's not all bad to find that out at the beginning of the process and really know what you're getting into and have an opportunity to connect at different levels with the clients.
And if you follow these tips, then you at the end of your meeting won't have to say, and I would have gotten the sale too if it hadn't been for those meddling kids.
No, the kids are part of the clients. If they're kids in the family, they're part of it. You never have just one client when you're pitching a wedding. Maybe other kinds of events. I can't imagine this would be happening in a corporate world, but in the wedding, wedding scenario, it's very likely to happen. But they're going to be there, and better to know how you interact with them up front, and to try to build a relationship with them from the beginning, instead of just meeting them on the day and somehow expecting them to connect with you right then and follow your cues when it's time to walk in or go down the aisle or whatever you may have to direct them to do.
Too many emotions are involved during the day. That's why rehearsal attendance is so important, especially for kid rapport. That's it for Creating Connections Podcast, episode 166. I'm Mitch.
And I'm Vickie.
We provide personal solutions through understanding people. We'll see you next time.
Have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Creating Connections podcast with Gittimer Certified Advisor Mitch Taylor and Certified Personality Trainer Vickie Musni. For more information on providing personal solutions through understanding people better, visit creatingconnections.biz.